Good evening. How are you? You can have a seat. You guys have a fantastic governor. Here's what's clear. Your governor loves you. And that every state is not blessed like that. Not every state understands that they have a leader that every day gets up for the right reason, gets up, thinks about their people, and makes the hard decisions that will benefit you, your kids, and your grandkids. You are blessed to have a governor that has a heart for his people and makes his decision from that heart. So let's give Governor Greg Abbott a round of applause for all of his work that he does. So when I got here, you all were so nice, and I thought, this was fantastic. You were asking me to speak because you liked me, and then you made me speak after Trey Gowdy, and I realized it was all a setup. What a hard act to follow. Isn't he great? We love him. My kids get so excited every time Trey comes on TV. The first question they always say is, I wonder what hairdo Trey will have today. It's always so exciting to see what he looks like this time. And then Kevin Brady is my favorite chairman, and I've had several chairmen while I served in Congress. He was a chairman that actually let the members of his committee write policy. Now, I know that sounds really strange, but so many times, I remember when I first got to Congress, I sat down in my first committee hearing, and I got all my questions ready. I'd looked at all the briefing materials, who the witnesses were going to be, wrote down the questions I wanted to ask, and right before it got to be my turn to speak, one of the staffers came over to me, handed me a sheet of paper, and said, here's the questions the chairman wants you to ask. And I said, oh no, I've got my own questions. They said, no, these are the questions the chairman wants you to ask. And I said, no, I don't think that you understand. I've got my own questions that I'm prepared to ask. And they said, no, this is what the chairman says you will ask. And I said, excuse me, I don't believe we've met. My name is Kristi Noem, and I'm from South Dakota, and I'll be asking my own questions. Thank you very much. But when I first got on Ways and Means Committee, I was talking to several people about Ways and Means, and someone described it to me as the committee that has the most ways it can be mean. Because all tax policy, trade policy, healthcare policy went through there. You have a very powerful chairman, a man who not only knows how to change policy to make your life better, but he gets up every day and fights for you. So thank you for sending us Kevin Brady, because he is a man who does the hard work to truly govern. So I'm just going to have and I understand we're behind schedule, so I'll hurry. But I want to have a candid conversation with all of you, just an honest chat. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So let's admit it. I want you to raise your hands. A year ago, you people had no idea who I was, right? The only reason that you know who I am today is because the liberals have been busy kicking me in the head for all the decisions that I've been making for my people in South Dakota, right? Elizabeth Warren, Rachel Maddow, they've been calling me irresponsible, reckless, said that I was a denier for making the decisions that were best for my people in my state. But I want you to know something. My people are happy. They are happy because they are free. So I think in order... the wonderful opportunity that you've all had to live in a state that is open for business, and that we've had in South Dakota to really appreciate what that means and how that can impact people, is a testimony that we have to share. So in order for you to understand, and I'll share a little bit about how I made my decisions, but for you to understand that, I think you need to understand a little bit about me first. Is that okay? If I tell you a little bit of my story? Ever since I was a little girl, all I wanted to do was to grow up and to be a rancher. My dad was a cowboy, and he was my best friend. He was kind of crazy. He woke up every single day and yelled up the stairs to us 4 kids. He would yell up and he'd say, "Get up! More people die in bed than anywhere else." And we worked all the time. I just remember my mom shoving food in our pockets all the time as we ran out the door just to keep us fed throughout the day. He was the kind of guy that as soon as we were done with harvest in the fall, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning and he'd say, Kristi, go load the horses in the trailer. We're going to the mountains elk hunting. And we spent every vacation hunting in the mountains or doing crazy things. He'd come home one weekend and say, Kristi, I bought a farm in Mississippi, so now we're going to go to Mississippi every weekend and farm there when we're done farming here. Every day was exciting and an adventure with him. And I loved spending time with him, and that was really what I wanted to do, was just to grow up and to work with my dad the rest of my life. When he was 49 years old and I was still in college, he was killed in an accident. And it devastated our family, absolutely devastated us. I ended up quitting college, coming home, and becoming the general manager of the operation. My sister was in Georgia, my brother was in Oklahoma, my younger brother was still in high school. But it wasn't too long after that when we got notified from the IRS that we owed death taxes. At the time, death taxes were 55%. Now, we had land and cattle and machinery, but we didn't have any money in the bank. And all of a sudden, I could not figure out how this family has a tragedy and the federal government is threatening our family business. So people ask how I got involved in government and politics. It was because of that. I just started showing up and talking about policy and how it needed to work for everyday families. At that time, our senator was Senator Tom Daschle. Do you guys remember him? Yeah, so whenever he was back in South Dakota, I would show up at his meetings and talk to him about policy. I eventually ran for the legislature, got there. I was there about a week, and I realized that leadership controlled everything. So I ran for leadership and ended up serving as assistant majority leader in the House. Then I ran for Congress in 2010 and served there for 8 years. But as I was there, I recognized that I could work on policy, and I got to do some big things. I worked on tax reform with the chairman. I got to do that with President Trump, worked on trade deals, everything that was important to our state. Was fantastic. The president was the first politician I'd ever worked with that actually did what he said he was going to do. It was amazing. Loved it. But listen, I was in Congress and I realized that in Congress you can vote, you can write bills, you can do policy, but governors are CEOs. They can make decisions every single day that sets an agenda, that really does impact families. So I decided in 2018 to run for governor of South Dakota. And I ran with the message that I believed South Dakota could be an example to the nation. I had no idea that our opportunity to be an example to the nation was going to happen through a pandemic. I think I did what every other governor in this country did. I listened to the science and the data, and then I made decisions that were best for my people. I want to remind you guys of something, and I want to share a little bit of my heart with you, is that governors this last year in 2020, that could sometimes be a very lonely job. We got a lot of advice, a lot of people who gave us information, told us their thoughts, but then when it came time to make decisions, they stepped back and said, yeah, I don't know, you make that decision. So I want you to know that for governors, for your governors, there was days where he knew the full responsibility was on his shoulder, where I knew the full responsibility was on my shoulder. And we made the decisions that we felt were best for our people. Now, one thing that is very clear after 2020 is that leadership has consequences. You don't have to look very far from state to state to see the consequences that people are living under based on the type of leadership that they have, right? And when you see leaders overstep their authority in a time of crisis like we just had, that's when we break this country. That's when we lose this special country that was gifted to us. Now in South Dakota, we never closed any businesses. Our kids were in the classrooms. We never closed churches. We never issued a shelter in place. I didn't even define what an essential business was because I didn't believe that, according to my state constitution, I didn't believe I had the authority to tell a business they weren't essential. I stood up in front of my people every day and gave a press conference and told them I was going to trust them. told them I was going to let them use personal responsibility and have some flexibility to not only take care of their customers, but also their employees, so they could keep a roof over their heads and they could take care of their families. I also told them that we were going to get through this together. I told people, I said, if you're scared, stay home. I'll bring your food to you. But we're going to let people do what they need to do to get their family through this situation. I was amazed. What amazed me was to watch the media use fear to control people. They used fear to perpetuate their agenda to control people, and it shocked me how quickly people gave up their freedoms. We saw people give up their freedom of assembly, their freedom of religion. They let politicians say you can't go to church, and they said okay. Their freedom of speech. And this is the threat that we have, is having a population that doesn't recognize how incredibly powerful those gifts are that our founders gave us. We're watching Democrats and socialists and liberals try to wipe away our history and destroy our leaders that led us through challenging times. And it is our job to stop them. I remember holding press conferences where the entire press conference that I had was just talking about our Constitution, just talking about a leader that they were attacking and trying to eliminate, and the fact that, yes, they had flaws, but they did incredible things for our country. They gave us rights and guarantees of religious liberties and freedoms that we needed today to still defend and to protect. So today in South Dakota, I think our numbers speak to really what happened in our state. We have the least amount of hours lost by workers in the entire nation. We have the least amount of wages lost in the entire nation. We have the least amount of businesses that were closed. We have the lowest unemployment rate in the nation at 2.9%. We were the only state in the country that when the president said that he would give us those elevated unemployment benefits, that we said to the president, Mr. President, we appreciate the flexibility, but no thank you, because we don't need them. Our people are working. In fact, what was interesting, even though our unemployment rate was so low, it was also, when I made that announcement that we were turning down those elevated unemployment benefits, we cut our unemployment claims in half in 1 week. That means everybody that was sitting on the sidelines that was getting unemployment said, okay, I guess it's time to go back to work. And they did. We are seeing historic revenues come into South Dakota. I think that everybody that wanted a little bit of freedom came to South Dakota and took their vacation this year. Our legislature just finished their session, and the discussion was over how to spend the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that they didn't anticipate having. We set records on sales tax, and really that's the only thing I have that funds state government in South Dakota. We don't have an income tax. We don't have a corporate income tax. We don't have a personal property tax. All I have is a 4.5-cent sales tax, and it is bringing in we are moving people to South Dakota like crazy. You cannot find a house to buy in the entire state, and even our small little towns of 100 and 200 people. I could triple the size of my economic development department right now, and I can't answer the phone for all the businesses that are moving into our state. And it's because they want to live in a state where they're respected. They want to live in a state where they can have certainty, where the government understands their role and doesn't overstep it, no matter what the situation is. I guess what I will tell you is, in South Dakota, what we did is just what Republicans have always said we believe in. We've all talked about what we believe. Trey talked about it earlier tonight. We just did it, and it worked. It's the perfect example that what we've always talked about, that it does open up opportunity. It does create success for people and for families. And that's the testimony, and that's the example that South Dakota has to share. I told people when I ran for governor, I said, I know we're small. I know we don't have a lot of people, but that means that we can do things that big states can't do. We can be a pilot project for the conservative reforms that we all say we believe in, and then we can show that to the rest of the country as a model that it really does work. And that's what 2020 showed us. So what I'm going to do is ask you to do 3 things for me, if you would. First of all, I want to tell you a story about my son. I have 3 kids with my husband, Brian. 2 girls. I'm going to be a grandma July 1st, by the way. I should have probably led with that. Did you guys know that? My oldest daughter, Cassidy, and her husband, Kyle, are having a baby July 1st. Not that we're looking forward to that at all. I have another daughter, Kennedy, that's 24, but my youngest is Booker, who's 18. One night in the middle of 2020, I think it was in August or September sometime, Booker called me on the phone, and he said, "Mom, are you watching this city council meeting?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about, Booker." "Mom, are you watching the city council meeting?" Now, Booker's a freshman in college in Springfield, Missouri. And I said, "Booker, what are you talking about?" "Mom, are you watching the Rapid City City Council meeting?" Which is, Rapid City is my 2nd largest city. It's in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I said, "Booker, no, I am not watching the Rapid City City Council meeting. And you are a freshman in college in Springfield, Missouri. Why are you watching the Rapid City City Council meeting?" He said, "Mom, you gotta get online and watch it." He said, "It's amazing." He said, for the last 2 hours, they have been debating an ordinance on mandating masks in the city of Rapid City. He said, "You've got to turn it on and watch it." I said, "I don't have time. I'm in the middle of a conference call." And he goes, "Mom, it's been amazing." He said, "Every single person that has stood up to testify on this mask ordinance has said, 'My name is,' their name, "I'm from California, and I just moved to South Dakota 3 months ago, and I came here because I wanted a government that didn't tell me what to do. My name is..." He said, the next one was from New Jersey. The next one was from Michigan, from Minnesota. He said, every single one of them, hundreds of people, are standing up at the city council meeting and saying, "I moved here because I wanted to be somewhere where I could make decisions for my families." If people were concerned about so many people moving to our state, that they wouldn't be people that would respect our values and our principles, I think this was the perfect opportunity to recruit the right kind of people to South Dakota who really do understand what authority is, what it can do, and the right place for it. It's amazing to me the amount of people that are making their home in South Dakota, and they're making their home in South Dakota because they saw that Republican leadership worked, and they wanted it for themselves. They wanted it for themselves because they saw what it could do for their families and what it could do for their businesses. So 3 things I want to ask you to do. Number 1, we live in a country that is addicted to being offended, right? We love to be offended by everybody, don't we? Yeah. You have people in your life that you quit talking to. You did, right? You wrote them off. I had a pastor tell me many years ago, he said, "Kristi, people are going to throw offenses out at you all the time. They're going to throw them out there. You're the one who decides if you want to bend over, pick it up, and carry it around with you. But then you're the one that's carrying the burden." He said, "You can make the decision that when they throw that offense out there, just to walk on by." Well, we have gotten so offended by each other in this country that we quit talking to each other. And so number 1, what I'm going to ask you to do is just to get over yourselves. Okay? Just get over it. We have neighbors, we have family members that we have quit talking to. We have written them off and decided that we're never going to convince them of our political views or what's special about this country or what we believe. I'm going to ask you to take the anger and the emotion out of your discussions, and that you're going to go up to people that you see and that you've written off or that you aren't talking to. And the number 1 thing you need to do is to listen. Nobody in this country feels like they're being listened to anymore. Listen to them and hear their side of the story. And then take the emotion out of the discussion and share the facts and the examples of how what you believe and the leadership that you endorse really is the best decision for them, their families, and for this country. So number one, quit being offended and get over yourself and have those conversations. When you leave here, if you're going to go stop at a gas station and get gas, look at the person at the pump next to you and ask them, who are you voting for and why? Okay? You go to the grocery store, listen, that checkout girl, she's not going anywhere fast. Put your groceries on there very slow. Who are you voting for and why? And then listen. By the time you pay your bill, you'll have her on your side. If you do it correctly, and like Trey said, communicate in a different way than what we have been doing. When you go to church, oh, Kristi, we can't have these conversations in church. When you go to church, you talk to those people about what is happening in this country and how our founders were Christian men and women who loved this country and loved the Lord. And that really is what has made the foundation so strong that's protected us for hundreds of years. Number two, I need you to say yes. Years ago when I was pregnant with my first daughter, we had a baby shower for her. And I remember they went around the room. Now you men probably don't know, but us women, we know that they do things at baby showers. And one of them that they do is often they have people give advice to the new mom. I remember them going around the room and all these women giving me advice because I was going to be a mom for the very first time and I needed it. I remember it got to my grandmother, who's a German woman and very, very tough. She's a very strong lady, and I just did whatever she told me to do. But she got to her and she said to me, Kristi, say yes. He said, because so many times as a mom, you are going to have to say no. So say yes whenever you can. And it just struck me so much because that was such a different piece of advice from my grandmother that I decided that I wanted to be a mom who said yes. I wanted to be the mom that was fun and had exciting adventures with our kids. So if my kids wanted to run down the driveway, we raced down the driveway. If they wanted to jump in a mud puddle on Easter Sunday, we jumped in a mud puddle on Easter Sunday. We did everything that we did, we said yes and went out and accomplished it. But I also applied this to my life too. I said yes to opportunities that came. Now, many of you, the world will tell you that you're too busy, that you need to start saying no to more things, that you need to focus on yourself, spend more time at home. I'm going to tell you the exact opposite. I need you to say yes. I need you to go work for a candidate, volunteer for the party. I need you to run for office. I need you to get engaged, because when good people like you and the people here in this room say yes, that is truly when we have the opportunity to put this country back on its axis and back right and as great as it's always been. So please say yes. The last thing I'm going to say to you is be happy. Listen, be happy. We are the party of hope. We have the answers. We will draw people to us through our optimism. We will attract them to us because we are happy, and we can show that that really is a benefit to us and to them and to our way of life. So number one, stop being offended. Number two, say yes. Number three, be happy. And remember what you're fighting for. Remember what you're fighting for. I was thinking a lot about history, and we don't talk about it enough. I just passed a huge initiative to put more government and civics in our classrooms in South Dakota. The sad thing was, when I first was sworn in as governor, I pitched the exact same reforms to put all of this curriculum in our schools that taught our history, taught about our founders and civics, and Republicans killed it. They killed it the first year that I was governor. They passed it overwhelmingly this year. They recognized that that really is what's missing in the education of our children. But I was thinking this morning about Nathan Hale. You guys recognize the name? Nathan Hale was a young man who graduated from Yale with honors in 1773. And it wasn't very long later that the Revolutionary War began. He had 5 of his older brothers who signed up to fight for the colonies, and then just a couple of months later, Nathan himself signed up to fight alongside the Continental Army and to go to war. to be the United States of America. You know, at that time, General Washington was losing ground. Things weren't going very well. They had gotten some intelligence that the British Army was going to be invading Manhattan, and General Washington knew that he needed somebody to be a spy. He needed somebody to go undercover and really determine when this invasion was going to happen so that they could be prepared for it and that they didn't lose the war based on that invasion happening. He went to all of his troops and asked for a volunteer, and there was only one volunteer that stepped forward, and it was Nathan Hale, to be that spy. So he went in, he disguised himself as a Dutch school teacher, went undercover, became that spy, went into enemy territory, and he was discovered. People debate whether it was a British officer that revealed his identity. It could have been his cousin, who was a British loyalist. But regardless, they found him, they sentenced him, they convicted him, and his condemnation was going to be that he was going to be hanged. British armed officers tell the story that throughout this entire process, his conviction, he stayed true to General Washington and the Continental Army and never once gave up any intelligence as to where they were, what their plans were, or why he was even there and acting as a spy. It's interesting because as he stood there, he never lost his composure. He kept his dignity. And what the British officer said his final words were before he was hanged was that, "My only regret is that I have but one life to lose for my country." Listen, people, we have no idea what hard is, right? We have no idea what hard is. Sometimes I think I've had a hard day, and then I think about guys like Nathan Hale. My sister said to me just 2 days ago, my sister's wonderful. She's the peacemaker in the family. I tell people all the time, she's the nice sister. But she literally had tears on her face, and because she hates the way I get attacked all the time. It breaks her heart, and she can't take it. She said, "Kristi, is it worth it? Like, is it worth it?" She said, "I really honestly don't know." And I said to her, she goes, "Have you ever thought about quitting?" You know, and I said to her, I don't think any one of us alone here can save this country. But I think every single one of us has to do our part. Every single one of us has our part to play. So, I don't know why I can't quit. I honestly don't, because my family talks about it a lot. I don't know why I can't. I just know that I can't because this country is worth it. This country is worth it. I know that I want my kids and my grandkids, my brand new baby granddaughter that's going to be born on July 1st, I want her to have the opportunities that I had. I want her to know what it's like to live in a country that's free. What the Democrats are doing in Washington, D.C. is socialism. It absolutely is. And it has nothing to do with the dreams and hopes that we have for this country. We can never forget that we're in the people business and that we need each one of you, and you all need to be a part of it. We all have a role. I need you to get over the offenses that you've had with people in your life that you've written off and quit talking to. Start having those conversations. I need you to be optimistic, happy, talk about our beliefs and how they work. Point to states like Texas, in Florida, in South Dakota, and show that what we believe in really does create opportunity in the American dream for everybody, regardless of their standing at birth. They have the opportunity for the American dream. Go forward and be that light in people's lives that attracts people to the Republican Party, that ensures that we can protect this country and make sure it's as great as it's ever been. Go forward and tell people that they have the opportunity. They have the opportunity themselves to go forward and to make their way and to protect the United States of America. So thank you so much for inviting me to be with you. May God bless you. May God bless Texas, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.